Hello everyone, this is Julia and I have another card that I did for Purple Onion Designs, and I'm going to be using this beautiful mushroom stamp and to the left that floral stamp. I have a piece of watercolor cardstock here that I've already, kind of die cut. I added a stitched border, and this is a die from Pretty Pink Posh. They don't have only have sequins, they also have really awesome dies. So I used this die to create this stitched border. And even though you can see the memento here over to the side, I'm using archival black ink for stamping my images, simply because archival black ink does not bleed when you use it with water. And that's very important on this card. The watercolor cardstock is actually not just crafting cardstock. I went into a craft, like an art store, and just bought watercolor paper and tried that because I wanted some white stuff that is less expensive than the Tim Holtz watercolor paper. And here I am using some masks. I fuzzy cut these masks, and you can see I'm trying really hard to get them down exactly, because I'll be doing some distress inking around these images, and if I don't mask them off correctly, they will have like a white halo, so that wouldn't be so nice. Now I've used the memento ink simply because I want to stamp this onto my stamp positioning tool, and as you can see here, this doesn't work because my acrylic block is round, but I need a rectangle one. So I switched over to a rectangle one, stamped this on this clear sheet of plastic, and now I can look where I want to position my image. Then I'm going to grab my positioning tool here again and remove the plastic, and then bring back in my stamp. And since I have not moved the stamp on the acrylic block, it's in the exact same position, which allows me to stamp it absolutely exactly where I want it. That's how you use a stamp positioner. It's just a brilliant tool because you can't look through the rubber stamps, right? You don't really know where to stamp them. Doing the same thing here, you can see I'm lining up the clear thing with the green positioner, bringing back my stamp and stamping it exactly where I want it. No surprises. You know exactly where you'll stamp it. I'm masking off all of this because I'll be doing my sponging all around. I'm not masking off the tiniest flowers, but I'm not worried about those right now. Now I'm using my new blue masking tape. I actually imported that from the US because I wasn't sure which one to get here in Germany, and I already wasted money on other masking tape that didn't work. So this is just painter's tape. It's listed in the supply list below, and I was super happy with that. I'm using shaded lilac, faded jeans, and chipped sapphire. And I'm starting out with chipped sapphire because that's the darkest color, and I'm just sponging that onto my paper here, starting on the mushrooms, so I wouldn't have too uneven a blend. Now I'm coming in with my second darkest color, and I realized I could have just started out with this one because I had to come back and add some more of the darkest color, the chipped sapphire, because I want the darkest color around the mushrooms. That will help to make them stand out more against the background, because I'll be coloring them very lightly. So here I was like, am I done? Am I not done? Am I done? Am I not done? And I was like, hey, there's water. So I'm just dipping my fingers into the water, and then I'm doing the very scientific and proven process of dropping water onto my cardstock. I'm just kidding. I'm not even getting the water where I actually want it to go. So I'm just wetting my fingers and dripping the water on there. And you can see how it immediately reacts with the distress inks because they're water-based. And I'm just using a baby wipe, a dried baby wipe, that's why I never throw them away for a long time, to wipe off the water, and then you have this beautiful background. Then I pulled off the mask, and I wanted to color in the bottom here, and of course colored over the nice white border that I had created. Duh! And for the actual coloring, I'm going to be using these Inktense pencils. You can pause the video here to write down the numbers if you're interested in them. And here's the fun part. They are called Inktense for a reason. That's a wordplay on intense. And you can see that I'm scribbling down some yellow here. You would think, oh my gosh, that's not enough. But look what happens when I activate them with water. They're super intense. And on this first layer, I'm not even going for a super intense look. All I want to do is I want to get down a base layer, and I want to make sure that I leave enough space for my highlights, because I find it more interesting when you have really dark shadows and really light highlights. I'm not going to go really dark here because I want the mushrooms to really glow against the darker background, and that wouldn't work if it would be too dark. But still, you only try, when you use the Inktense pencil, start out by only putting down a little bit and activating that with water. You'll see the effects immediately. Here I've scribbled down like the next darkest color, and I'm activating this, and you can see the difference. You really don't need a lot unless for some reason you really want a very solid coat of color. But if you want to do blending, start with little. You can always add more, but you cannot take this away. Once it dries, it's permanent. And you can see it doesn't look like much here, but watch how far I can pull this out. So I've just activated this, and I don't use a super wet brush. I'm using, well, a damp-ish brush. And here I'm back with my third darkest color. You can see I'm smushing this down here, and then I'm activating this, and you can see immediately the color just starts to glow. Here I'm using 2 colors of pencils to put down the darkest and then the medium shade, and I'm actually putting down quite a lot of pencil here, of pigment, sorry. It's warm, it's hot, it's evening. And then I'm using my brush here to smooth that out. And if you find that you have too much pigment on the brush, just go back, wipe it off, and come back with a clean brush. I'm using my powder bag here because I'm going to be doing embossing. The sentiment is from Casual Fridays. I didn't have one from Purple Onion Designs that matched. So that's why I'm using a Casual Fridays sentiment here. And then I heat embossed it. And of course I had to use my white gel pen and just reinforce some of the dots here for additional interest. Here's a close-up of the card and the sentiment, and I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope it inspired you. Leave me a comment, ask me any question that you want. I'll try to answer them all. Thank you so much for watching, and see you again soon. Bye!